The story begins with a couple on a road trip. Nora and Alec find themselves on an unfamiliar route as they drive to the countryside. Their journey leads them to an abandoned diner, and Nora seizes the opportunity to use a bathroom. She stumbles upon an abandoned campsite behind the facility, where she finds a wallet and a phone, but decides to leave them behind. Unbeknownst to her, a human skull lays nearby, and as they drive away, they unknowingly pass a pile of human skeletons. They continue driving until they spot a woman with a broken-down car. Alec offers to help her with jumper cables, and she accepts. While he works on her vehicle, the woman questions Nora about why Alec hasn't married yet, which takes Nora by surprise. Their exchange turns heated, and Nora, frustrated, tells Alec they are leaving the woman without fixing her car. As they drive away, Nora complains about Alec's tendency to help people, which she prefers to avoid. They eventually reach a diner to grab a meal. After finishing their burgers, Alec notices a strange man staring at them. Nora reassures him, attributing the man's curiosity to their status as visitors. However, as they prepare to leave, the strange man grabs Nora's arm, warning her that she isn't safe in town. When Alec intervenes, the man lets go and they leave the diner. In the car, Alec asks Nora if she's okay, and she downplays the incident. Shortly afterward, they arrive at a gas station and inquire about nearby hostels. The cashier mentions a cabin down the road, and they decide to check it out. The cashier watches them as they drive away. Nora expresses a desire to inspect the cabin before deciding to stay, but Alec insists on taking a break to avoid accidents while driving at night. When they reach the cabin, they notice numerous parked cars, interpreting it as a sign that others are inside. Although Nora feels uneasy and wants to leave, Alec points out used plates on the table as evidence of recent visitors. Unable to find anyone to assist them, they venture upstairs where they encounter the disfigured-faced landlord. He apologizes for not hearing their arrival and asks where they are from. Alec mentions they are from Los Angeles, and the landlord explains that the cabins, previously used by Boy Scout troops and church groups, have been converted into motels due to a lack of recent bookings. Casually, Alec asks how long the landlord has been there, prompting a lengthy monologue about the property's history. Mrs. Anderson had owned it until her passing 4 years ago, leaving it to the current landlord. Nora, impatient with the landlord's chatter, abruptly requests a break. This offends him, and he slams the door loudly as he leaves. Alec confronts Nora about her rudeness, but she defends herself, repulsed by the man's appearance. However, they fail to notice a blood stain on one of the beds. That night, they prepare for bed, blissfully unaware of the figure concealed under their bed. As morning arrives, the figure emerges, revealing himself as a man wearing a sheep mask. Towering over the sleeping couple, he leans in closer, setting the stage for an eerie and mysterious turn of events. Nora awakes to find herself trapped in a cage. She struggles to break free but is silenced by a man wearing a goat mask who suddenly appears and then leaves. Seizing a nearby stone, she manages to shatter the lock. However, her escape is short-lived as another man in a cow mask returns, dousing her with a substance that renders her unconscious. Upon waking, Nora finds herself tied to a chair in a barn, helpless as a masked vet forces an invasive procedure on her. She screams in agony, but the masked man callously leaves her weakened. Transported in a cage, Nora sees the masked community's eerie existence unfold. The man in the cow mask eventually deposits her in a stable, where she futilely tries to pry open a window. Alec suffers a similar fate, silenced by a muzzle among other captive men. Helpless and horrified, he watches as 3 masked men brutally attack fellow captives with hammers. Driven to madness, Alec resists, prompting the masked men to subdue him. Despite his struggle, Alex is struck with a hammer, losing consciousness. At a slaughterhouse, a man with a pig mask conceals gruesome evidence. He assists another captive's arrival. In a separate area, several lactating women are confined in cages equipped with suction tubes attached to their breasts. They are subjected to horrifying production methods. Elsewhere, Andrew, the gas station cashier, toys with human hands. In the aftermath, the landlord scolds Andrew for wasting valuable resources. As punishment, Andrew is assigned to assist the farmhands in feeding the captive prisoners. Unfortunately, his clumsiness leads to a spilled bucket of food, and he desperately flees the consequences. Meanwhile, the landlord inspects the stables and horrifyingly discovers one of the women's lifeless bodies, a chest pierced with a wooden stake bearing Andrew's name. Determined to find him, the landlord commands his men to locate Andrew. Meanwhile, Nora converses with the captive next to her stall, a woman who has endured captivity for 2 long years. This woman reveals the harrowing truth: all captives are treated like livestock, forced into pregnancies until they can no longer conceive. This revelation leaves Nora in a state of panic and despair. Nora hears cries emanating from another stall, where a recent captive named Ashley is held. Ashley, gripped by terror, confides in Nora, expressing uncertainty about their chances of survival. Elsewhere, Andrew plays with human body parts while one of the landlord's men finds him. Andrew tries to justify his actions, blaming the deceased woman, but he is swiftly dragged away. The man in the pig mask is called away for an urgent matter, leaving the landlord frustrated. At this point, the landlord decides to handle Andrew himself and instructs the man in the pig mask to dispose of the woman who can no longer produce milk. The men from the stables enter the neighboring stall to Nora's, where they proceed to bind the woman. Nora watches in terror as the man in the pig mask mercilessly takes her life. Traumatized, Nora sinks to the ground, her mind unable to fully grasp the horrors she has witnessed. In the eerie silence that follows, Nora quivers with fear, dreading what might come next. A noise at the door startles her, but it's Alec, who has come to her rescue. Urging her to flee, they cautiously leave the stables, evading the farmhands. They find a truck, but it won't start. An alert farmhand approaches as they try to start it. Nora and Alec circle the vehicle, hiding as a distant ringing bell diverts the farmhand's attention. Seeking refuge in a church, they encounter an unsettling mural depicting masked figures. Nora arms herself, and they spot a man with a cow mask outside. Hiding, they narrowly avoid his entry. As the cow-masked man prays, Nora and Alec make their move. A creaking floorboard gives them away, prompting the man to ring the church bells. Panic ensues as they try to escape. Alec gets trapped in a bear trap, and Nora faces a heart-wrenching choice: leave him behind or save herself. Moments later, the men drop a rock on Alec, the sickening sound of his demise haunting Nora. She continues her escape, sobbing uncontrollably and seeking refuge in the male stables as the danger closes in. Nora encounters a captive there and inquires about an escape route. He tells her of a bus and its keys in an office nearby. 2 farmhands see her making her way to escape, but they do nothing, just smile sinisterly. As she navigates her way, Nora passes by a gas station. She observes a masked man driving away in a car, and curiosity gets the best of her. Armed with a hammer, she confronts the man, ultimately killing him. Unfortunately, a farmhand suddenly appears on the scene, prompting Nora to leap into the car and make a desperate getaway. Initially, the car struggles to start, but Nora manages to ignite the engine, a glimmer of hope in her eyes as she speeds away. However, the car engine suddenly sputters to a halt, forcing her to abandon the vehicle and continue her escape on foot. She flees as the masked residents relentlessly pursue her. Nora desperately seeks refuge in a nearby building and eventually reaches the basement. There she spots a window and tries to make it out. Farmhands close in on her, attempting to block her escape through a narrow pipe. Nora manages to open the window and crawl out, evading the clutches of her pursuers. Nora reaches outside only to discover a group of masked residents closing in. She sprints towards the bus that she had been informed of earlier, hoping for an escape. But as Nora arrives at the bus, she realizes the cruel twist of fate. There are no keys. Panic sets in as she and another captive, Ashley, desperately search for a solution. Nora risks getting caught and finds the keys in a nearby house, and they rush back to the bus. Nora starts the engine, a glimmer of hope rekindled. However, their relief is short-lived. As Ashley falls silent, her expression frozen in terror. Nora's triumphant smile quickly fades as she gazes upon the masked residents who have been silently seated in the bus, revealing the chilling truth that they have walked into a trap. Their grim fate looms ever closer as the masked residents gather, leaving Nora and Ashley no chance of escape. Their fate was sealed the minute they went into the cabin. Let us know what you think of this disturbing movie in the comments, and thanks for watching.